you kind of learn something, or you zig in a different direction than you had expected. You just need to know how that it's okay to fail, and the failure is just a one point in time. If you keep getting at it, you will eventually succeed.
Hi there, this is Vijay Damojipurapu, and you're listening to the B2B Go-To-Market Leaders Podcast. The show where I go behind the scenes with top go-to-market practitioners to discuss their mindset and tactics. Hello again. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the B2B Go-To-Market Leaders Podcast. My sincerest gratitude, because you have so many options and you can do anything at this point in time, but you've taken the time and dedication to listen to and learn go-to-market. With that as context, I have yet another amazing guest on the show today. I have the CMO of Freshworks, Kady Srinivasan, and I'm excited to be speaking, and I'm sure you'll get a lot of nuggets listening to this podcast. So with that intro, welcome to the show, Kady.
Thank you so much for having me, Vijay. Really great to be here.
Yeah, likewise. I'm sure there'll be so many advice, insights for the listeners here. I've met you a couple of times. I know somewhat about your work and what you do. And looking forward to really going deeper into so many of those contexts.
Yeah.
But first, the signature question, which every listener loves, which is, how do you view and define go-to-market?
Yeah. Oh, that's a very good question. I think the simplest way that I define it is, how do you go and build market share in a specific market, category, vertical, geography, whatever that is. So what are the coordinated set of actions that helps you build that market share? That's how I define it, as in the most simple manner. But obviously, it's simple but not easy to do.
Yeah. So let's double click, triple click into that. Yes,
Yeah.
market share is the output or the end game, but
Yeah.
a lot of moving pieces, both
Yeah.
externally and internally. So curious how you approach it from your.
Yeah. So I've worn a couple of different hats, right? I've been a CRO and I've been a CMO multiple times now. And so I've kind of seen both sides of the equation. I think the market share thing is a very interesting one, because you need to have the right product for the right market. So there needs to be some product market fit. Assuming there is PMF, then you need to go about thinking about who are the people in the market that you can actually go and service, that serviceable, addressable market.
Yep.
And then how do you message your product to those people in a way that makes it easy for them to think about and digest what you do.
Right.
Then you go and actually have those touch points that matter to get them to close. So
Yeah.
it's almost I'm describing it as a linear process. In some ways it is, but it also has to come together in a very coordinated manner. And one of a couple of the mistakes I've made in the past is, we had an amazing product, but we were selling it to the wrong audience.
Yeah.
We had an amazing product, we were selling it to the right audience, we didn't have the right messaging at all. And so it just, any part of that process can break down, and you end up not being able to get the traction that you want.
Yeah. No, great example. And in fact, great insight there. Reminds me of a very important piece of advice I heard from a couple of founders yesterday. I was at an event here in Silicon Valley, and two founders were sharing about how they achieved product market fit. So even though it's super relevant for early stage, I think that advice is even relevant and even more so relevant even as you scale.
Yeah,
Which
I think
is,
that's exactly right. Yeah, I think
which
it's
is, yeah.
sorry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so which is essentially about identifying the niche, the
Yeah.
segment, what you're referring to, and it's an ongoing game. It's not like once you're there and it's done. It's an ongoing game.
Yeah, I think it's what I found is, when you find product market fit, you have an ICP, right? You have a bullseye target, and that target market really just loves you so much. And then when you get better and better at sales and marketing, you're going beyond the early adopter community in that ICP and going into the late adopter, early majority, that kind of stuff. So you're still staying in that ICP circle, if you will, right? Think about the bullseye. Then what happens you grow so much that you start introducing new products, new features, and suddenly your platform is bigger, more extensible, appealing to a different audience. So the bullseye expands. So I call it the ICP plus. So
Yeah.
it's the people that are outside of your original ICP that you also have to start to, and that's when many companies kind of lose the thread.
Correct.
They lose the thread of, okay, how do I start to position? Like I used to position really well, really strongly, but suddenly now I have this other thing and I'm not quite able to get that bullseye anymore
Yeah.
because the ICP plus is a different audience. They're
Correct.
looking for something different.
Correct. Now you hit upon a very important point, right? Yes, once you identify the segment, I
Yeah,
mean, PMF can break at so many points,
yeah,
but you hit upon a nuance, which is the messaging,
yeah,
right? The message, audience, message, market, message, channels, fit, and
yeah,
so on,
yeah,
right? And I'm sure we can actually go into a lot of those details
yeah.
because I'm eager and curious to understand how you approach that.
Mm,
But again, going back to what you're saying, which is how
yeah,
we got going on this thread,
yeah.
which is expanding market share,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. No, I think it's uh I kind of think of it as when you expand market share, it's you are going after net new logos and net new business, but also don't forget you're also going after share of wallet and
Yeah,
expansion opportunities as well. So if you have a great product, then you're landing and expanding, and it's a very seamless thing.
correct.
When you start to become a platform company, you have a lot of landing zones. So
Yeah,
that expands your TAM and your market. But back to your point about messaging, then you have to be very clear. Okay, am I messaging the platform, which is a set of components, A plus B plus C,
right.
or am I messaging A, then B, and then C
Hmm.
in very specific targeted
Yeah,
kind of ways? And that's a kind of a product marketing design decision that needs to happen. And most companies, what I've seen is, and I advise a lot of companies like startups all the way to Series D companies, most of the companies don't make a deliberate, intentional choice to do that, right? To say, how are we actually evolving our messaging? What they end up doing is just drifting
correct.
along with how the product is getting built.
Yeah,
And that because of that drift, suddenly you're defining yourself as a red cat, and then somehow 18 months later you become a blue dog,
yeah, yeah.
and then you don't know how that has happened. So you need to start to get back into what you want. Do you want to be a white cow? Is that where you need to
Or a
be?
purple cow.
Yeah, purple cow. Yeah, that's actually a better one. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, very good. So let's actually step back, bigger picture. It'll be great if you can walk our listeners through your career journey, how you got started, and what led you to what you're doing today.
Yeah, it's a very zigzaggy career journey. I started life like many people in, I guess, my generation growing up in India. I started as a software engineer.
Yeah,
And I was quite honestly one of the worst you could think of. Just absolutely hated it. I don't even know why I chose computer science,
yeah.
except for the money, I guess. And then did that for a couple of years. Is so bad. I realized I had to go to business school.
Mm-hmm.
But I was in India and I applied to, in India, there was you have these prestigious
Right.
in Indian Institute of Management, and literally got rejected by all of them. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
couple of times.
Yeah,
So then I was like, I don't know what to do.
yeah.
And strangely enough, at that time, I got married, came to the US, didn't again like was trying to find a job, didn't know what to do. But fortunately, I got into a business school here, and that's when it sort of helped take off. So I
Mm-hmm.
went to business school. I was trying my best to get into supply chain consulting of all things, but for some reason that didn't work. And so
Uh-huh.
I ended up in strategy consulting, and that was a window into how to solve business problems, which was
Mm-hmm.
just absolutely fantastic. One project I talk about, we were literally trying to help craft at that time, figure out a breakfast category.
Mm-hmm.
And the next project was how to launch a skincare line for a celebrity in Hollywood, kind
Wow.
of a thing. So
Yeah.
just amazing range of things, all related to market share and market development.
Mm-hmm.
Fell in love with this idea of marketing, which I'd never even imagined that I would be a marketer. I kind of had this really bad connotation of marketers as like
Mm-hmm.
really
Right.
fluffy, talkers,
Yep. Yep.
kind of a thing. I really loved the science behind marketing and realized, oh, there's actually something here. Um, then I made a deliberate effort to get into performance marketing, which back
Mm-hmm.
then was the way to connect data and technology, kind of stuff. Did that for a bit, was in Dropbox for a while. And then, bunch of stints across tech.
Yeah.
Every place ended up taking on more pieces of marketing or go-to-market
Mm-hmm.
as it happened. And so I think at this point I'm in a interesting space where I know a playbook, which is a SaaS playbook. I've had this playbook in my head for 15 years.
Yeah.
AI is completely changing all of
Yeah.
that playbook.
Right.
Everything is getting disrupted from again, to your point, go-to-market perspective. It's all fluid. What is marketing? What's sales? It's all
Yeah.
fluid. So I'm in the space of reinventing everything all over again. So Freshworks for me is the opportunity for me to rebuild not only what great marketing is for the company, but what a great playbook is going to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's how I'm here.
Very good. Yeah, and thank you for being so authentic, honest, and sharing your early part of the journey, which many of the folks go through it, right? I mean, again, going back to one of the points you mentioned earlier, it's never a linear up
Yeah,
and to the right,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
You clearly identified early on that software coding is not your thing and decided to go to B school.
yeah,
Uh, and you stuck to it, even though you got rejected at the IIMs in India, you stuck to
yeah,
it. And that really was an inflection point in your career.
yeah,
And if I look at your LinkedIn profile, so you were at Clarkston Consulting. That's where
yeah,
I believe you're
yeah,
talking about the
yeah,
all the
yeah,
different
yeah,
consulting
yeah. That's right.
engagements and
Yeah,
strategy consulting.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was.
That's right. Yeah,
Yep.
and that's the thing, right? Like you go to these companies, you go into these professions thinking you like get one thing, but you get something completely different.
Right.
So at Clarkston, and then I went to this other company called IRI. The biggest learning there was how to manage large amounts of data and be able
Mm-hmm.
to process data and to make fine-tuned decisions based on that data. So to give you an example, almost every retailer in the entire world runs on 1 to 2% gross margin, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
that's what they run on,
Correct.
which means that a single penny of pricing on one of their commodities can make or break their
Correct.
earnings, and lose like value, all that stuff. So you have to be exceedingly precise. You can't go and say, I'm going to increase the price of sausage by from 48 cents to 49 cents,
Yeah.
because your CEO might get fired in the
Correct.
next
Yeah.
quarter.
Yeah.
So that taught me the value of data and being able to be precise when it comes to thinking about markets and all that. Took that to gaming, where we had tons of data. From there, I realized technology is where the real leverages went to Dropbox. So every step of the way, you kind of learn something, or you zig in a different
Yeah.
direction than you had expected. You just have to have the resilience to be like, you need to know how that it's okay to fail,
Correct.
and the failure is just a one point in time. If you
Yeah.
keep getting at it, you will eventually succeed.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And one of the board advisors I met a few years ago, that's the advice he gave, which is failing is not really failing. It just shows you that is not the right path,
Yeah,
and you're that much closer to a winning
yeah.
play.
Yeah, yeah, that's very true. Like, you look at the what I advise a lot of younger people who are in their careers too in marketing is, they go to these different companies, and marketing is 18-month tenure,
Yeah.
the CMO tenure. So invariably something happens, they separate from the company, and they get very traumatized by it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Especially after the second time you're going
Correct.
through it, you get traumatized. You're like, what's wrong with me? But
Yeah.
it's not what's wrong with them, it's the fit doesn't exist. So every time something like that happens, it means you're getting closer to a place where the fit is going to be there.
Correct.
So you can't give up. And that's what I found in my life. And I keep telling people about.
Yeah, no, very good. And then, so you were in strategy consulting, and then you moved and got into the tech industry, and that is where you are right
Yeah,
now. And I'm looking at electronic arts, fair enough, gaming, and then Dropbox, and then Owlet Baby Care. You shifted to consumer for
for a
some
bit.
point in
Yeah,
time, and then you came to Klaviyo.
yeah,
If I compare even like Dropbox versus Klaviyo, it's an
yeah,
entirely different go-to-market motion.
yeah. Yes, that's right. Yeah, yeah, it is. Klaviyo, so Dropbox was for the most part PLG, obviously.
Correct.
But the interesting thing about it is we didn't. I mean, it's not very apparent to the outside, but Dropbox business was actually a heavily inbound motion, similar to Klaviyo. So the parallels there are Dropbox overall was PLG, but Dropbox business, when we were selling into business teams, was heavily inbound, not much outbound. So that way, Klaviyo is also exactly the same. You could come in, start a trial, go through that motion. So lot of velocity of leads coming in, low ACV, quick close, quick deal cycles, kind of a thing.
Yeah. So PLG is your lead gen, if you were to call it. And then, I mean, no, I'm talking about like on the business side of things, right? So that's going really bottoms up, where you first tap into the individual user.
It's not quite. PLG is one of the levers.
Yeah.
So the way I think the industry has PLG defined wrong. Most people think PLG means two things. One is it's a freemium user who comes in and then upgrades to premium. That is absolutely one of the ways. But when you these users are also single player users, they're not multiplayer. So if you're selling into an enterprise, you want multiplayers.
Right.
So to go after those multiplayers, you have to give them a frictionless experience where they can come and try the product if that's the kind of product you have.
Right.
And so that's what I would call the inbound motion. So the inbound motion and the PLG motion were both sources of acquisition for us. To drive that inbound motion, that multiplayer motion, you have to go do ads. Like you have to do marketing. You have to do all of the traditional,
Okay. Yeah.
less enterprisey, but still enterprisey kind of marketing.
Understood. Yeah, at some point it'll be good to really get into how you approach that, because there's one playbook, or maybe you can get it even right now. So there's one playbook of, yes, let's say it's an enterprise company and you have like 2 to 5 individual users who are who came through PLG, and then now they're paid customers, right?
Yeah.
And enterprise plays, typically now you see that there are 2 to 5 users, and then you start talking to the management. That's one way, where with
Correct.
sales,
Yeah.
overlay sales, you would try to figure that
Yeah.
out. Sales assist
Yeah.
converted.
Correct. So exactly. But if you think about it, right, like let's take AI tax assistant. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have a prosumer motion, which is you're basically trying to go after all of the people who want it as a single player mode for their own personal use. So that becomes a motion that you have to define. And some of them may become more paid users at some point because they need more access, more sharing, more whatever that is.
Yeah.
But if you ignore that altogether, you have a tax assistant that you can actually go and sell to, let's call it legal firms. And these are small SMB customers, and they will likely buy 2 to 3 licenses, but it is a sale from a package perspective.
Yeah.
So to go after those people, you can't rely on brand awareness. You have to go and actually target those people through specific marketing. Now, when they come to your door, you have the quick turn, hot handoff to a sales team that closes the deal, et cetera, or sales assist, whatever that is. And then some of them may upgrade into 50 licenses if they're a big enough company.
Yeah.
Then if and when you introduce real enterprise features, you start selling to larger firms, and in which case you're talking about an outbound motion. So you have a sales team who's actually going outbounding to big legal firms and saying, buy 100 licenses from us.
Yes. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And again, going back to the fundamental, the initial conversation, which is go to market, capturing market share and expanding, and defining the segments and so on.
Yeah.
So depending on the segments you're targeting, you have to build in and layer in the appropriate go to market motion.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. You have to think about what is the right marketing that will help you get the messaging in front of them. And then once you hook them and they get interested, what is the way to convert them into a sale? Is it through your website, which is PLG?
Correct.
or is it through a low touch sales motion, or is it a high touch sales motion? So it
Right.
depends on that.
Yeah, fair enough. And then if you extend this conversation and go to marketplace,
Yeah,
and going back to one of the points you mentioned earlier that you learned in your consulting gigs,
yeah,
consulting job, which is the impact on the financial
yeah,
metrics and the
yeah,
finances,
yeah.
right? So how do
That's
you
right.
go about thinking about the different go-to-market motions, and how does it translate to the on income sheet, income statement and balance sheet and the margins and so on? So how do
Right.
you think in those directions?
For SaaS, it's for consumer tech. When I was at Outlet, for instance, when you're selling a product which is like a one-off,
Yeah,
it's a much easier thing to construct a P&L. You're just basically saying, I'm selling this one product to this person. I expect 100 of those people to show up, and this is the gross margin impact of manufacturing it.
right.
This is, all the kind of stuff. In SaaS, it becomes so much more complex. In AI, it's even more
Yeah,
complex
that's true.
because of the both the pricing models as well as the way you're thinking about their LTV.
Hmm.
So if you the my heuristic has always been you bring somebody in with the expectation that they're going to be around for 5 years on your
Hmm.
platform.
Hmm.
So your platform should be good enough that your dollar retention should be higher than 100%, right? So that
Right.
they're getting value from it.
Yeah.
And then at some point, because you may have the right features, you're then helping expand them so that your net dollar retention goes to 170%,
Right.
not just 100%.
Yeah.
So your LTV becomes a much bigger chunk, even though your bookings are going to be like very limited. And so that flows into kind of that P&L as you think about it. Where I think it gets complicated, and we saw some of this in Klaviyo, is when you suddenly start to have different ways of monetizing your customer base. Some you sell as licenses, some you sell as consumption, and that becomes super complicated. I honestly, that's one area that I have to dig into a little bit more in terms of how you recognize revenue when you have those vastly complex metering systems.
Correct. Yeah. No, but you brought up a good point, right? Which is you go in with the assumption or hypothesis that first of all your product has to be good. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a given.
Mm.
I mean, no amount of marketing and sales can fix the issue if the product is okay
Yeah.
or average.
Yeah.
That's number one. And
Yeah.
second, I like the way you approached it, Kady, which is around assume that yeah, once you get a customer, once you earn a customer, they're there for 5 years.
Yeah.
And then think about the financial implications like the
Yeah.
NDR, and then the upsell, cross-sell motions and everything that can play into that one customer
Yeah.
or the customer segment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also interesting, right? Like sometimes the way you land in like the kind of feature set that you land a customer in can determine how big their expansion can be.
Right.
So the
Yeah.
landing zone can determine your expansion revenue. So you have to experiment your way into what's the right.
Yeah.
Because if you have them come in and sign $1 million deal right off the bat, unless they see
Right.
massive value, you lose them. They
Correct.
don't. That's too much.
Yeah.
But you don't want to start with 30,000. So what's the right middle ground?
Yeah. So curious. I mean, typically most of that lever or the thought process is between the sales leader and the finance. So what
Mm.
is your role as a CMO in terms of what is the right balance, at least for initial ACV?
Yeah, it's true. It's mostly it lives in the world of sales and finance, but the construction of the pricing and the packaging is not that framework.
Yeah.
It lives anywhere the CEO chooses it should live.
Yeah.
But at Klaviyo, I had that under my remit,
Got it.
where we basically helped redesign what the pricing and packaging structure of the company or the platform should be.
Right.
And it wasn't necessarily because of anything I did. It was more because we were trying to define a category, a new
Mhm.
category. So we felt at that time that we could bring in the right value proposition because we were doing so much work on the product side and translating that product to benefits and all that kind of stuff. I think it's more you have to have a very strong understanding of what's in the market, how competitive you are,
Yeah.
What's really innovative about your feature set, and what is the elasticity of your customers, right? If you
Yeah.
have a deep understanding, it and most CROs have this understanding. So then it makes sense for them to be able to get
Right.
involved there
Yeah.
and figure this out, knowing also that as sales teams go and sell it, they are going to discount, there are going to be special deals. Like you have to think about, the deal desk. You have to think
Right.
about the applications to RevRec and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we can just go on and on into
Yeah,
that.
so many things. Yeah.
So many things over there because when
Yeah.
you're talking about all those things, in my mind, I'm thinking about, okay, how do you build a narrative that even initially opens the doors
Yeah.
for the salespeople to engage in a conversation with certain accounts, right? Let's
Yeah.
just, yeah, if you can share that and then we can go into the next segment. Yeah, it'll be good if you can share how you approach the narrative building part.
Yeah. It can get as complex as multiple
Yeah.
years of effort. It can be as simple as, okay, CEO and someone getting in a room and then whiteboarding it.
Yeah.
It, but I like to keep things simple. I think I use two frameworks. There's one called ABCD. A stands for audience, B is benefits, and I'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
C is compelling RTBs or reasons to believe, and D is dramatic differentiation.
Got it.
So whatever you're trying to sell, if you can get clear in your mind, I am selling to attorneys who need tax software to help them manage X, Y, and Z. The benefits to them are they don't have to hire paralegals. They can improve productivity. The emotional benefit for them, so there are two, right? Rational benefit, emotional benefit.
Yeah.
And the emotional benefit to them is that they can actually get work done faster and look good in front of their
Mm-hmm.
bosses, whatever.
Yeah.
The compelling RTB is 10 of the biggest law firms in the world use the software
Right.
and the social proof. And then the differentiation is uh, we we have the best trained AI models that nobody else on the market has. We are the only,
Yeah.
or we are the best at X, Y, and Z. So you literally if when you are a good product marketer, you have to be able to put that entire thing down on one page
Correct.
so that it's anybody in the company, anybody in the sales team can just understand that, repeat that, and just bring it out there, right?
Yeah.
So that's you use that to start building the story around it. Then you build the story. You're like, what's happening in the world? I don't know if you have heard of something called the hero's journey.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the second framework I use is you build a story which basically starts with the idea that there's something happening in the world, some big
Correct.
context.
Yep.
And this hero, the customer, is going on this journey, but suddenly some problem appears or
Mm-hmm.
some problem, they have a problem
Yep.
and they have to overcome that problem. And here's
Correct.
what
Yeah.
like we are the Yoda,
Yeah.
and here's how we solve that problem. And
Yes.
then this is what you get out of it, kind
Correct.
of a thing.
Yeah.
And that makes it exceedingly compelling for and that's as simple as that, like as simple as putting that together, going to market with it, testing it, experimenting, moving on.
No, great framework. I mean, it's easy for anyone. I mean, especially this is good advice for the listeners. Just pick a framework. In your case, Kady, you just created this framework ABCD
Yeah.
and made it really simple to understand and made it sticky. I think that's a key, especially for a good marketer. How do you build concepts that are sticky? Because
Yeah.
you need to get your internal audience to adopt
Yeah.
and use that at the
And
end of the day.
and say that over and over, or if they change it, then change it in their own ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the next segment of the show, which is a go-to-market success story and a pivot story. I'll let you choose which one you want to start with, either a success or a pivot, but yeah,
Yeah.
all yours, Kady.
I think a success story is so I talk about this concept of a multi-threaded marketer.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I did in my previous AI startup was I built what we called a CEO influence flywheel. So basically what it is the idea of a multi-threaded marketer is to how to create these flywheels of growth in both small and big ways. One of the things we identified was our CEO had a massive LinkedIn following, like, I don't know, some 2 million, 3 million, something like
Wow.
that.
Mm-hmm.
And we were not doing much with it.
Was
So
this at Lightspeed or somewhere else?
u.com.
U.com. Okay.
Yeah.
Got
So
it.
we would go to so we would have him post something on his LinkedIn. Then we would have people go and look through the people who have interacted with that post, liked it,
Right.
whatever. We would filter that through an ICP
Mm-hmm.
fit,
Yep.
get those people, either send that list to our BDRs to BDR, or of the people that were really ICP fit, like a CEO of X, Y, and Z that we were trying to target. We would put them on this named account list that we would then invite to a dinner or an event or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we did host a couple of those dinners with those people, and that yielded more data, more topics of conversation. So that then becomes another LinkedIn post.
Yeah.
You see, like, the way I'm
Correct.
drawing that circle.
Yeah.
So that turned out to be pretty effective. I think we drove like 10x MQLs
Mm-hmm.
in a short space of time, type of a thing, which was uh, pretty helpful. I mean, I can talk about a bunch of experiments like that that didn't work, but this one was pretty good.
Yeah, and this is a great example. I think it's becoming even more important and relevant in today's world where it's just not the company LinkedIn handle or the brand handle that has to
Yeah,
be active. It's eventually people to people. People connect with
yeah,
people at the end of the day.
yeah, yeah.
And
Correct.
you
Yeah,
caught that unique advantage that you had at u.com, which is the CEO active. That's
yeah,
number one. It
yeah,
was not like you had to train the CEO to be
yeah,
active on social media. But then, how do you create a playbook? First of all, sit down with the CEO, understand the different themes, and then
yeah,
have a team behind in creating that playbook, and then sending out beacons and signals
yeah.
are
Right.
which the audience are catching, and then based on the
Yeah,
title or the responsibilities or the company size, you bucket and steer them into the different,
yeah,
like either SDR or it's
yeah.
a dinner roundtable that
Yeah,
you mentioned.
correct. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was fun. It was a lot of fun when we did that. And it's also interesting, exciting, right? People, when you crowdsource ideas, you
yeah.
have, yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Actually, let's double click on this concept of multi-threaded marketer. You
Yeah,
mentioned that. I know we just graze the surface in this, but can you
yeah.
double click on that? Why it's relevant, especially in the day of AI nowadays?
Yeah. When you think about like the 15 years or 20 years of SaaS experience that I've had, I I've almost always organized my team as product marketing, brand, and demand gen. Those are the general pillars for marketing, right?
Yep.
And on the sales side, you have the same, like either geographies or whatever.
Correct.
Um, but and that assumed that each of those people had a specific skill set that they have built over time. So it was
Yep.
like an apprenticeship type of a model. You're a junior PMM, then you become a
Correct.
VP of PMM. And but in so it was very hard for a VP of PMM to then become a CMO, because then you don't have that
Right.
20 years of experience in the other. Very few people actually made that jump.
Correct.
In the world of AI, what's happening is you don't need that much specialized knowledge. You can basically create your own um, set of understanding of each of the other things that you don't know, as long
Yep.
as you have one spike and you know how to solve business problems.
Correct.
So it comes down to, how do you clarify what the objective is? What are you trying to go after? Okay, we want to win the market share in this by these 5 levers.
Right.
Clarify it, use AI to augment the knowledge that you have, and then go run at it,
Right.
create these growth loops or flywheels, and experiment your way and get it done. So that requires a different kind of a
Mm-hmm.
marketer who is very conversant with using AI. It doesn't have to be AI native, but knows how to draw on the knowledge of these other pillars that they don't
Yeah.
know. It requires somebody who can have clarity of thought in terms of how to anchor on a specific objective or business outcome. It needs somebody who can think and connect the dots across multiple AI systems and
Mm-hmm.
create the right go-to-market tech stack for
Yeah.
themselves.
Right.
And then like go run at it, right? So that is what I call a multi-threaded marketer, is a mini CMO essentially.
Yeah.
But for very small, specific, localized problems. And then you kind of build it all together at some point.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, this is something that I'm seeing personally for myself as well as with the others in the industry and customers that I'm working with, which
Yeah.
is it's become very easy
Mm.
for a marketer who specialized in one, like to your point, spike, who has a
Yeah.
spike. It's
Yeah.
very easy to now go and get things done. In earlier, you had to lean on like for a content marketer or a
Yeah.
brand person or a demand gen, but now it's so much easier. If you take the example of what you mentioned earlier, let's say it's an AI software that you're selling to legal firms,
Yeah.
right? And we know that we're targeting a segment like individual users, but we
Yeah.
do have a hypothesis and want to
Mm.
experiment it. Okay, how do I sell it and increase it to 5 seat
Yeah.
accounts?
Yeah.
So, as a product marketer or someone who's curious, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter, right?
Yeah.
And now with the help of AI, I know that I can do quick analysis and research,
Yeah.
right? And put
Yeah.
together this is
Yeah.
my business case
Yeah.
for
Right.
expanding from single to a
Yeah.
5 team
Yeah.
segment.
Yeah.
And I'll quickly put together a landing page.
Yeah.
It can all be done.
Yeah. Correct. It can all be done. And so the gating there is not the knowledge, it's how quickly you can take action,
Correct.
how quickly you can learn from it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's the concept of a multi-threaded market. It's almost like it comes from my software engineering background, right? When you're doing a lot of different things to achieve a certain outcome.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So I know we talked about a go-to-market success story, and how
Yeah.
about a go-to-market pivot story?
Um, Pivot as in where we expanded a go-to-market motion. I'll talk about that for a second. Actually, this idea of self-serve sales assist is a good one, because we at Klaviyo, we didn't have a PLG motion. We had a inbound motion, like I
Hmm.
said, and then we had started to introduce an outbound motion to go
Yep.
sell to big companies. What we realized was the platform was such that you could come to the platform and basically you have to upload your contacts, and
Hmm.
then you can try out a few features. People would start uploading about 200 contacts, play around with the features, and then they would get stuck when they wanted to do more, and they would just leave at
Yeah.
that point because
Yeah.
there was nobody to help them out, because they're free users, so they don't get access to professional services and all that. So we introduced the self-serve sales assist, which is
Mhm.
basically back then, I'm saying back then, it's 2019, was a chat bot
Yeah.
essentially.
Okay.
It was a chat bot that you could interact with, and then it would kick you over to a product specialist
Mm,
if it got complex.
got it.
So we introduced that, and immediately just completely opened up a whole revenue stream for us, for those people who really wanted to do more but couldn't, and they were getting stuck in product, and we
Yeah.
were able to. Yeah, so I'd say that was one. Um, that was one version of a pivot. The other one, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, is at when I was at Lightspeed, we were selling to hospitality customers, which is
Hmm.
basically dining, restaurants, that kind of
Yep.
stuff. Um, I think the company had started as a we'll sell to everybody on the planet,
Hmm.
small mom and pop shops to Michelin star restaurants.
Yep.
So my CEO decided, no, we because the product was made for complex workflows, we would only sell to a certain kind
Hmm.
of customer.
Yep.
That was a crazy pivot to make, because you have to retool the entire company, right? To
Mm,
say no more small mom and pops, only focus on this.
right.
So I started a project called ICP, ICP project, which uh, crazily enough, I was slacking one of my people late at night. I said, we really have to get this ICP project off the ground. For
Yep.
some strange reason, Slack changed the ICP to Hug Jim. I don't know why. Hug
What?
Jim.
Okay.
Yeah. And then his name is Richard. He's completely confused. He says, what is Hug
Yeah.
Gym? So I explained it to him. He's like, oh, we should just call this Hug Gym. So that became a thing. Like we announced it at
Yeah.
SKO. We like made it a project. So everything became about Hug Gym, meaning like we are
Yeah.
pivoting to ICP. It was great, but my God, it took me 18 months to do.
Hmm. accidental. I mean, ICP changed to hug him. That's a interesting and funny story.
Crazy, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So again, that the point you made there in that story, Kady, which is the CEO saying, yes, earlier on we were selling to pretty much anyone, mom and
Yeah.
pop to high-end Michelin star restaurants, but then identifying the segment
Yeah.
was the key strategic decision,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So
Exactly.
what really drove? I mean, what
Mm.
was the build up to why it
Mm.
had to come down to that moment, and what
Mm.
changed?
Uh, I so I can't take any credit for that. I think when they were putting together a analysis for Capital Markets Day, they realized that we were the best ARPA customers were in a certain segment.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's where the churn was lowest, ARPA was highest, NDR was amazing.
Yeah.
And so then they started digging into it and saying, why are these customers so special? Did we see something did we do something accidental? But it turned out those customers were the ones who really loved the product. Our CSAT for that customer segment was amazing, through the
Right.
roof.
Yeah.
Which also then led to this other questions around, okay, but why? That means that's because they loved the our ability to take care of their so we to make this real, we were selling to companies like a vineyard,
Mm-hmm.
which also had a hotel resort, which
Mm.
also had a warehousing
Yeah.
operation.
Got it.
And there was nobody on the market who could take that complexity and help them be
Mm.
to create the operations behind it. So that's what we were doing. And so that became a light bulb moment of, oh wow, we have crazy product market fit in this. And
Yeah.
if we can just get a few more of this, then we are good to go. And the interesting thing about that is we did find that it was all about um, uh, like we did find that majority of that ICP was Michelin star restaurants, like really complex restaurants. When we put a label to it, it became much more real. Then we
Mm.
started to say, okay, now how do we go? And there are, I think, 100, no, sorry, maybe I'm wrong, 1,000 or so Michelin star restaurants in Paris alone. How
Wow.
do we go convert that?
Yeah.
So then we went geography by geography, started to really attack that from a market share
Mm-hmm.
perspective and say, okay, we have 7% of market share in Belgium. What do we
Yeah.
need to do? And we would do like really scrappy things. We would create this thing called Lightspeed Awards. And,
Mm-hmm.
for $5,000, we would get people in a room together,
Right.
give out awards. You won't believe it, Vijay, but we went from 7% market share to 19% in like a year's time in some
Yeah.
of those geographies. It
Yeah.
was insane. So clarity, and then really diving into like the smallest surface area you can think of
Correct.
to go start to attack,
Yes.
and then rapidly do that over and over and over.
Yeah. I mean, that's the point exactly which I was mentioning earlier, and which the founders mentioned yesterday, which
Mm,
is riches are in the niches,
mm,
right? But the
mm,
key is really identifying or
mm.
acknowledging that we need to niche down further.
Yep.
So in the case of Klaviyo, what was that trigger that led the CEO and the team to, okay, now we need to niche down further? Like, what was the trigger moment?
So this was Lightspeed.
Oh, sorry.
This,
Yeah, Lightspeed. Yeah.
I think it was mainly the analysis that the finance team had put together. I think that's basically what it was, which was
Yeah.
interesting, right? I don't think I do think there were signals, a lot of signals that many customers were unhappy. Some customers were amazing. They would
Yeah.
give us they were sending us other leads, but we had never not been able to uh, put that together and say this is the reason why, like
Right.
this set of customers. So I think we like to think that when we say ICP, it's just this one magic wand that creates clarity
Yeah.
for everybody saying, oh yeah, we get it, this is
Right.
ICP, this is why it is. But it takes more work to define it. Why are these people ICP? What
Correct.
binds them together?
Yes.
Is it ICP because we want it to be an ICP?
Yeah.
Or is it because there are this is the kind of people they are, or this is the kind of customer they are,
Correct.
or that kind of stuff. I think that's the most important thing to define as a marketer or even a CRO.
Yeah. No, fair enough. In fact, a lot of folks make this mistake, which is when they go down and start doing this ICP exercise, it's typically like firmographic
Yeah.
or maybe to some extent technographic. And then you have the type of person they create all the fictional characters and all that. But what I've
Yeah.
seen really work, and tying back to your success story, Kady, is around identifying the characteristics, right?
Yeah.
In your case, it was a vertically integrated
Yeah.
Michelin star
Yeah.
or a vineyard,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All the way from
Yeah.
vineyard to
Yeah.
warehousing
Yeah.
to a restaurant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they have a unique set of problems.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. And I like the way you said that it was vertically integrated. And then as soon as you say something like that, then suddenly it creates clarity for the sales team, right? They
Yeah.
know who they're going after. They know what to look for. They know what kind of discovery questions
Yeah.
to find out. Yeah.
Very cool. I know we are almost coming to to a dead
Yeah.
end of the show. I know we can
This
go on and on. Maybe we should get you a second time later.
is sure.
Couple of other questions, like when people come to you for advice, specifically around go to market, what are those
Mm.
one or two areas that they think of? Hey, this is something Kady is really good at, and we should pick her brains on this.
I think it's what it has been in the past is because I advise a bunch of VC companies as well as startups. Is it's always about what go-to-market motion do I need to pick?
Yeah.
Because in my career, I've had the privilege of seeing a lot of different things. I've seen constructed PLG, inbound, sales outbound,
Yep.
partner, and there's always a mix and match of what you have to do. Like you
Right.
can be a PLG company and then eventually migrate to an outbound motion. It's very hard to do it the reverse.
Right.
Right, when you're selling to big enterprises, you have that. It's very, very, very hard for you to re-architect everything to become PLG. So
Completely.
it's that's the one thing that people come to me for over and over. The second one is actually ICP definition.
Mhm.
A lot of people, companies, especially startups, they go through a period of massive growth in the beginning where they found that early adopter
Right.
community.
Yeah.
But for some reason, they can't translate that to the next S curve of growth. And then the questions start like why, and then you start losing some of those early customers.
Yeah.
And then you have to really think through what does that mean? Who are we going after? What's the subs? Is that a subset of a bigger
Right.
set of customers, etc.? That ICP definition is one thing that it's like a make or break for
Yeah.
every company, but especially for startups.
Yeah. And then being really clear and having the conviction that this is the ICP and we're not going after any other
Correct.
ICP is really critical, because
Yeah.
that will drive the messaging
Yeah.
and your sales motion or go to market motion.
Yeah, no, and the other thing is the discipline and holding to it is
Yeah.
going to be important because I have seen companies which are selling to their average ACV. The way they're set up is they're selling to an average ACV of 30,000, right?
Hmm.
Then suddenly a $1 million opportunity comes knocking on the door. Which salesperson is going to turn that away?
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's going to take 6 months to close. It's going to need all kinds of bespoke work, custom
Correct.
work to be done. And all of a sudden, you're putting a bunch of pressure on the engineering team to create
Yes.
some instance that is not the. So at that point, the leadership has to take a decision. Is the cost worth all of this?
Correct.
And if you're in a competitive environment or under pressure for making your numbers,
Yeah.
that becomes an extremely hard decision to make.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like short-term revenue
Yeah.
win for sure.
Yeah.
You get a mini spike, but then
Yeah.
is it worth the cost? As you said, right? Product will be
Yeah.
under pressure. Sales, not sales, but post sales will be under pressure to deliver. And then you don't know from a customer support point of view. And who knows, 6, 12, 18 months later, that customer would churn.
Plus, your board is telling you, I mean, why didn't you sign this customer? Maybe that's the new direction you should
Hmm.
go in because
Correct.
all boards want like big
Yeah.
sticky customers. But the minute let's say you sign it, you get
Yeah.
a small portion of the promised revenue. And what if you don't get the rest of
Correct.
it? You've
Yeah.
done all of this. So it's a very, man, I really I have empathy for CEOs because these decisions are so hard to make.
Yes. Yeah. Completely. All right. Last couple of questions for you.
Yeah.
Like, who are like the 2, 3 people who have really helped shape your career overall?
Yeah, I mean, the person that comes to mind most is my current CEO, Dennis. I used to work for him back at Dropbox, and
Hmm.
he is just one of the most the smartest guys I've met, but extremely logical, rational, and first principles oriented in how he approaches decisions.
Hmm.
And the kind of the questions he asks, the incisiveness of his um, insights and decisions in what we need to do. I've learned so much from him
Hmm.
in terms of like really driving the business forward and ensuring he's also a systems thinker. He knows how all of this comes together. And for
Yeah.
me, that's an important one. So he's someone I really admire, and like I learn from him every day, every day. Um, I'd say I think let's see, on the business side, I think he's definitely the biggest one I can think of.
Hmm.
I did have a few mentors when I was in my consulting company. There there was a partner there who gave me my first start, if you will. Gosh, like the way he managed people, the way he sort of created an environment of safety and
Hmm.
respect.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So I don't think I'm there yet, but that's what I aim to be. Like I keep
Yeah.
wanting to be in that on that journey of where he wants to go. I feel like you can learn from everybody, even
Yeah.
the best learnings have come from who I thought were the worst managers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm never going to be like that person.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like you start building your blueprint
Yeah,
in terms of who you want to be and who you don't want to be
yeah,
based on all these
yeah,
mentors
yeah,
and
yeah,
on both sides. All
yeah,
right. The final question for you is, if you were to turn back clock to day
yeah.
one of your go-to-market journey, what advice would you give to the younger Kady?
I actually think I would tell people to go and become a salesperson first,
Mm-hmm.
become an AE, a
Yeah.
BDR AE, learn to knock on doors, learn to accept no,
Yeah. Yeah.
learn to take rejection because man, that is a very useful skill set.
So true.
Yeah.
Great. Excellent. Thank you so much, Kady. Enjoyed the conversation. Good luck to you and the team at Freshworks.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hi there. Thank you for listening to this episode of the B2B Go-To-Market Leaders Podcast. I have all of the show notes and a full transcript on strativ.com. STRATYVE.com. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get a podcast. Leave a rating and a review. Your comments will help other go-to-market professionals find this podcast.